Okay, so this is going to be my late out of the theatre reaction for Thunderbolts, and this is the newest MCU movie, and I saw this day one, night one, opening day at an IMAX screening, first screening of the day. I was so excited for this movie. I thought the trailers looked great, and then the early reviews started to come out and everybody was praising it, and just I could not wait to get back into a theatre and watch an MCU movie again. You know, Brave New World really set the bar high for me, and I was hoping Thunderbolts could carry on the thrills, carry on just the excitement to actually watch an MCU movie again, which is a feeling I haven't had for a while. And I am happy to say Thunderbolts is one of the best MCU movies in a long time. You know, Florence Pugh as Yelena, I think she's really the show stealer here. You know, she can do anything. You know, this girl can do drama, comedy, action. Like, is there literally anything in her DNA that she cannot do? You know, she absolutely sells every emotion that is required from her, and she is the show stealer here, and she has a very flawed character here. And if Black Widow was the entree, this movie is the main course for her character. Like, you really get a full, in-depth character analysis of what makes her character special. And I think she might be in the lead for being one of my favorite characters in the MCU at the moment. And I thought, in the action scenes, she did really well. I thought the stunt work and the choreography was really on point. This movie goes back to what I loved about Brave New World, which is the fierce and raw hand-to-hand practical combat, which is something I'm so happy that the MCU is bringing back, because the action in this movie, it is really exciting. And then we have Red Guardian, which, he has some great moments in the movie. There's certainly some laughs from his character. We have Taskmaster, who is in this movie. And I thought, each of our main characters here, I thought they all had that one moment, for their time to shine. I thought every character was utilized, well for the most part in here. And these are all, flawed characters. They've all either killed someone or they've all done something that, that you can debate whether or not makes them a hero or a villain. And I think them coming from a troubled past, to me, that's what makes a great main character, and that's what makes all of these characters, I think, really special in this movie, is they aren't invincible. They are just normal humans, that have done some stuff in their lives that they aren't proud of. And I think each of them have an arc, that I was really invested in, especially Florence Pugh's character. And our villain here, as a lot of people will know him as Bob. This is another character that is flawed, and I don't want to say too much about how they portray this villain, even though this movie has been out for a few weeks now, but it still is in theaters. So yeah, they do some really cool stuff with the villain, and I think this is one of my favorite villains in the MCU in a long time. And I think this is going to go down in MCU history as being honestly top 3 best villains. I thought he had a lot of standout moments. I thought he had a story and an arc, that I could really grab onto, and I could actually see his motivation. Whether or not he's doing it the right way, doesn't matter. And I think, to me, that's really what makes a great villain. But even more than that is he's a character that has this darker side to him, which I think does add some really dark themes to this movie that I don't think the MCU has stepped in this territory before. This is easily the darkest MCU film to date, and is also the most depressing MCU film to date. And this film deals with a very heavy subject matter, and I felt that it dealt and executed that subject matter really well. I thought this movie would just be a comedy fest from beginning to end, but that's not what this movie is at all. Like, there's a few jokes in here, but this is a really dark movie, and I think that will really surprise a lot of people walking out of it. And this movie, unlike some other MCU movies, this movie gives us a clear picture of what to expect moving forward into phase 6 of the MCU. There's 2 after credit scenes in this movie. Stay for the very end credits, because I think there's a moment that I think a lot of fans have been waiting for, and I think it will get quite a big reaction, and I think it's something very special moving forward, closer now to Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. And I thought the ending of this movie was great. Like, it is very MCU, typical, big third act stuff, but this movie just feels lower scale, which when Marvel goes for that lower scale stuff, I feel that that's when MCU is at its best, when they try to reach for the stars and go for this very space epic stuff that they've been doing, and this multiversal storyline. I feel like that's when they miss the mark too much, because I feel like the producers don't even know how to connect everything. Like, this feels like a solo MCU movie that has a very clear image, and I think that's something that I really liked about this movie. And the third act had a lot of fun moments in it. I thought, speaking more on the villain here, I thought, Ben Pullman, I thought, he gave a really, really great performance in here, having to play, really 2 different characters here. And for someone who's not really familiar with who the Thunderbolts are, and not really familiar with who the villain in this movie is, I thought this movie did a really great job of kind of, catching you up. Like, this movie doesn't require any knowledge. You don't really need to watch Black Widow, because this movie kind of recaps her story, recaps Florence Pugh's character story in here, and it doesn't require you to know really anything about these characters, which I also think is a refreshment, since the MCU is all about connecting. I felt like this, I could just watch this movie and enjoy it for what it is. So that I really liked in here. I thought this was a really well written movie. I felt like the first act, there's some stuff that happens in the first act, where there is some disbelief, and it does feel, tonally like a different movie compared to what the second and third act portray. But I thought that the first act had some really cool moments, when, like, the scene that we've all seen in the trailer, when the team meet each other, for the first time. I thought that was a really cool moment. A really cool moment in the movie. And this movie, Florence Pugh's character does have a much more, how do you put it? extended lore outside of this movie. You know, she has an appearance in Hawkeye, and her role in that, you know, show is you know, is kind of finding out, you know, kind of what happened, you know, to her sister, is, you know, tracking down Hawkeye, you know, and getting revenge for her sister. So she has a revenge arc in that show, and I thought her character did go pretty deep in that show, and I'd say that show, you know, does set up her character pretty well, you know, in this movie, you know, as far as where they go, you know, with her character and how far they take her character. So yeah, you know, I was a big fan of Thunderbolts. You know, this is 2 for 2 for Marvel. You know, Brave New World, you know, was an awesome time, you know, and Thunderbolts is a movie that actually gets me excited to watch an MCU movie going forward, and I cannot wait to see what Kevin Feige and his team do next. We have Ironheart coming out in a few days, which I'm really excited for. So yeah, I have a lot of excitement. You know, let's hope, you know, Marvel's next big event, you know, first steps, you know, hopefully it's free for free. So yeah, go Marvel, you know, great job so far, loving it. So yeah, go check it out.